The NFL draft is just a few days away. We are getting ready here in the Sportsocracy with another A-plus mock draft from at ESPN Draft Nerd, Jeremy Green. Washington Commanders time. Number 16 overall pick. Like everybody ties them, I think, to a corner.
My belief is that they're the drop-dead spot for any of the three top corners. And there's one that has fallen a little bit, which is who I have them taking here.
Joey Porter Jr., corner at a Penn State.
And look, to me, it's really not that he's any less of a prospect than Devin Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez. I just think he's fallen into this trap of you've got a couple teams that need a quarterback. You got two quarterbacks that are falling. You got the offensive line run, and he just winds up here. I mean, look, I think he's got really high-end potential to be a really good physical corner that can hold up in man. He's probably better in zone, but I think he can hold up in man and be a true number one corner in this league. He's got some real bulldog in him. You're just going to have to refine. If you're going to ask him to press a lot, you're going to have to refine that technique a little bit and get him to stop grabbing people because he does like to do that. For me, he is the third corner in this class. He is the one that I think will be available there for the Washington Commanders and would be a nice addition to this team.
Many are under the assumption that he goes into the league and he has to play safety.
That's stupid. It's because it's a very basic tenet that I live by. There are no stupid opinions. There are just stupid people with opinions, and that to me is one of them.
All right, I guess fair enough. And the second round pick, 47th overall.
I love this kid so much.
The Commandos taking Steve Avila, guard out of TCU.
Immediate day one starter the second he walks in the building. Really strong, really versatile, has played multiple positions. He can play at center. Some teams are evaluating him as a center. I don't hear that very often. Washington is one of the ones that I have been told that they do see him as a center. I'm not so sure I would do that, but he has shown that he can do it. I think that's a little bit more – you're going to have to work with him a little more if that's your plan. But I am not one that thinks I am smarter than the team is going to draft somebody. And this is a name that I have routinely in the last week, I've heard that this is probably the drop dead for them. Because there's going to be a run on centers at the top of the second round with John Michael Schmitz, probably Luke Whippler. And if that's how you view this kid, then more power to you. He is a bulldog, and I absolutely love his tape.
And in the third round, Washington Commanders selecting at 97th overall. I don't think too many people would have running back as a big need for them.
I wouldn't have either until they brought this kid in on a top 30 visit.
Brian Robinson already there, Antonio Gibson as well, and they add to it with Israel Abanikanda, running back from Pittsburgh.
So here is what I am told on that. Don't be shocked if Antonio Gibson is not on this roster by the end of this draft. For whatever reason, this regime just does not buy into him. I don't know if it's the fumbles. I don't know what it is. As soon as I saw Abanikanda was in with Washington, I started digging into it, and it was alarming how many interactions they've had with running backs. That's one of the way I do these. If I see that you've had contact with 10 running backs, well, guess what? You're drafting one.
Yep.
And when I start seeing that they're all guys that are going in either round 2, 3, or 4, okay, you're going to take one much earlier than I thought. This is a kid that I absolutely love, and I think he makes a tremendous 1-2 punch with Brian Robinson because that's the only thing that makes sense to me is that you're moving off the guy that you kept gluing to the bench at separate times last year. I mean, you remember when he was a kick returner, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I'm at. I feel like everything you do is going to be to try to prop up Sam Howell, and I think this kid can definitely do that. He's one of my favorite running backs in this class. He was on the Amon-Ra St. Brown team. He's a home run hitter, and there's still a lot of tread left on these tires.
Fourth round, pick 118, Will Mallory, tight end from Miami.
I believe I've said how much I like this kid enough that I probably don't have to wax poetic about him. He did not fit at Miami. And I'm telling you, he's going to go higher than you think, and I think he's a day one starter. 4.5 40 at his size. Was there some inconsistency? Yes. But in terms of raw talent, he's one of the best tight ends in this class. And I think you get him here. You use the athleticism to be the safety blanket for Sam Howell. And I'm not going to lie to you. I actually think he can block in the NFL. I really do. He didn't do it much at Miami because they didn't ask him to. And when he did, he was put in some really no-win situations. But in terms of what you do after the catch, he's one of the 3 best tight ends in this class. And I won't be shocked if he winds up like Mark Andrews, where we look down the line and go, the fuck did you take Hayden Hurst ahead of Mark Andrews? It's kind of the same boat. You can attest to this. I was drunk on Mark Andrews when he came out.
Absolutely.
I see a lot of the same player in these two.
Scary good potential, if that is the case. In the 5th round, 150 overall, I'm taking Braden Daniels, a guard out of Utah.
And this is with the assumption that they view Avila as a center. I know they've had Braden Daniels in the building, really athletic. He's going to need some time. He played tackle at Utah, and I think he's one of those players that I really want whoever drafts him, make a decision early and really craft him to that. Because I think he can be a decent tackle. I think he can be a really good guard. You're just going to have to give him – I'm not going to say he can't play early. You're just going to have to protect him a little bit. I think having him inside of Steve Avila is a good way to do that.
First of 2 picks in the 6th round for Washington, 193, Terrell Smith, cornerback out of Minnesota.
But just going back to Braden Daniels, I scrolled and forgot to say this because this is the first team we've had taking him. You need to feed him a cheeseburger, a lot of them, because he needs to bulk up.
All right.
Terrell Smith's a kid out of Minnesota that developmental prospect, which is what you're gonna get here in the 6th round. But the height, weight, speed is there because he's a pretty long kid. Ran a 4.41. You're just gonna have to get past the fact that his best tape was about 3 years ago, and it never really progressed. And I'm not 100% sure why. He's a good tackler. I think he's at worst going to have a role in special teams. He's been pretty popular over the course of the process. I keep hearing, so what you said about Porter of people think he's going to have to play safety, I hear that way more about this kid. Mm-hmm. And it's entirely possible because it would take away some of the negative. You're just going to have to teach him to do it.
6th round, 215 overall.
I'm going to give this kid to every team I can.
Joey Fisher, tackle out of Shepherd.
I have to say this. Depending on the team, he can play tackle. I keep hearing, he's got to play guard. Why? Because he's a 6'5" mountain of a human with long arms. Like, if I was sculpting a tackle out of granite, I'm not sure it wouldn't be Joey Fisher. And he's athletic enough to handle everything. You're just going to have to be patient because he's used to running through dudes that are not in his ballpark talent-wise. So you're going to and I feel like he got here because he's such a mauler and he's got that really aggressive style of play. So I don't want you to take that away. But when you get to the league, I have this fear early he's going to try to do that against guys that have a counter move or guys that have a spin move. And he's just going to be left going, what happened? Mm-hmm. Oh, no. Maybe rein him in a little bit, but you're going to have to be patient with him because he did play at the lowest possible level of actual collegiate football.
7th round, final pick for the Washington Commanders, 233 overall, Kyle Soell, linebacker out of Arizona State.
He's more of an edge rusher to me. You're probably going to have to bulk him up a little bit because he is thin. And he is proof positive because he has had a ton of in-person visits with teams that if you can do one thing, you can make it to the NFL. Now, what you do when you get there is totally up to you. He's got a good motor. He's just got one move. He's got a spin move that is – it's not Dwight Freeney good, but it's really friggin' good. And it got him home a lot. Mm-hmm. The problem is that that's all he has. So you're going to get to the NFL with some of these bigger offensive tackles. They know that's coming, and he could just be laying on the turf sucking bugs.
Right.
So you're going to have to come up with another move that will keep people from really fixating on that. That's why he's a developmental prospect. Probably comes in and plays a little bit of special teams early, and you really don't want to see this kid on a field for at least a year. But if you're patient and you have somebody that can really teach him how to round off the game, that one thing he already does can be pretty damn good in this league.
Impact players pretty much at every slot here for the Washington Commanders. A-plus mock draft here in the Sportsocracy. Joey Porter Jr., Steve Avila, Israel Abanikanda. All those guys can be immediate impacts.
Absolutely. I mean, look, we've talked about this a lot. I was very high on Sam Howell coming out last year. I'll be honest with you, if Sam Howell was in this draft class, I'd have him as third best prospect. I'd have him behind Bryce Young. I'd have him behind Will Levis. I'd have him ahead of Stroud, and I'd have him ahead of Anthony Richardson. So I think you're in good hands at quarterback, and Washington sees it. There's a reason that they haven't really made any inroads to bringing in any competition. You can believe that Hendon Hooker thing at your own peril. It's not going to happen. Let me just go ahead and tell you, you're not walking out of the first round with Hendon Hooker. You're going to do things to prop up Sam Howell. They like his fit in this offense. They like the weapons. And I'll be honest with you, I like this roster a lot. Where Washington is headed is down a path that can ultimately lead to them being very competitive. I don't think you're going to usurp Philadelphia or the Dallas Cowboys anytime soon, but you can 100% be a playoff team.
A-plus mock draft for the Washington Commanders. Your comments now.
Throw those in the comments. If you like these picks, if you hate these picks, if you want to just say I look like Luke Combs' illegitimate brother, feel free. I've had a couple of those over the course of this experience, and I know Luke, and that's just fine. I will try to answer all of these comments before the draft on Thursday. We got a lot over the weekend, so just be patient. And we will have my final mock draft coming out at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time the day of the draft, and then we'll be live for every pick of the 2023 NFL Draft right here on YouTube.
Please like this video, share it with your friends as well, and subscribe to the channel. We will see you live Thursday night.